that's recording. Hi, welcome Mahesh. To
Hi, how are you doing?
Thank you, very well. Thank you for being here. You are here as part of the Yuvayamini Inspiration Series, where we are speaking to young musicians like you who can inspire our even younger participants. So before I start, I want to read a little bit about you. I'm sure most people know about you, but for some who don't know your background, I'd like to read a short introduction about you. Mahesh
Hmm.
Raghavan is a Carnatic music fusion artist who is known for his experiments with classical music. He has been trained in Carnatic vocal music and keyboards for more than 15 years. His experiments with Carnatic music on the iPad have gathered millions of views on YouTube and Facebook and have been featured by plenty of media publishers. He looks forward to presenting Indian classical music through innovative ways and means and is known for his contemporary take on a lot of Carnatic music pieces. He is the creative director of IndianRaga and also works with major music technology companies to make Indian classical music playable on their hardware and software. So that's a broad introduction to Mahesh
Thank you.
Raghavan. But I'd urge all our viewers to go check out his YouTube and his Facebook page for the exciting stuff he does on music. So Mahesh, I'm going to ask you a few questions
Thank
about.
you so much. Yeah,
Go ahead.
sure. No, I'm so glad to be here. You were just telling me about the work that you do with kids, and it's just heartwarming that you guys encourage, youngsters to take up classical music and all of that. It really warms my heart to know about the work that you do. So thank you so much for having me over here.
A pleasure and thank you.
Thank you.
So Mahesh, I want to start with asking you, just can you give us a broad idea of your music journey? When did you start? What
My
have you learned? What have been your experiences?
So, my music journey started when I was 3, where I started learning music under my aunt Indra Krishna. She was my first guru, and I learned Carnatic music. And over the years, along with Carnatic music, I also picked up an interest for Western keyboards. So, as a child, when I was in school, I used to play the keyboard at school and everything. So music was all over my life. It literally it was just two things that I was interested in. One was technology, one was music. And of course, by the time I was in 11th or 12th standard, my parents could really see that I had a, a really strong interest for music, and of course I was good in academics also, so that kept them happy. But my parents were really encouraging, and they told me, why don't you pursue a career in music, so make your hobby of profession. So I pursued my bachelor's in audio engineering and then went on to do a master's in music technology. So that is my educational background with respect to music. And one thing I've been extremely passionate about is Carnatic music, or the music of India, which is our own, and it is something that I consider to be extremely rich. And it's one of the most beautiful and complex forms of music in the world, and I wanted to present it to in a way that is a little different, and in a way that it would appeal to youngsters of today. And basically I want everyone to recognize that our music is really cool, and that's what I've been doing. So one way I've been doing it is I've been using technology to play Indian classical music. I play Indian classical music on an iPad, and I also do a lot of fusion work where I bring elements of Indian classical music into pop culture, and reinvent some of the Carnatic music classics. So I do a lot of things just to promote Indian classical music and to introduce youngsters of today to the rich and complex art that we have. So that's my main vision in life.
Lovely. That's beautiful. Your
Thank you.
answer actually has given me two questions to your
Sure, go ahead.
question. So, the first one is in a musician's life, one
Hmm.
is, of course, a talent you're born with. But I think there
Hmm.
are two broad groups of people who play a very important role. One is the entire guru slash
Of
gurus
course.
you have,
Hmm.
and the others are your parents. So
Of course.
when we do Yuva Yamini, we see that. We see the involvement of gurus and the parents and the interest of the student that comes together into a performance. Right? So what are your
Exactly.
views on it? And I want you to speak a little bit about one is your views, and if you have any experiences, any incidents that you can tell us about what you've got from your gurus, your parents in making you a musician.
So honestly, I owe everything to my gurus and parents. Honestly, because the gurus gave me the knowledge and the tools to become a good musician. But my parents were gave me all the encouragement and support required to fulfill the same. So I think those two are extremely important because and I remember my mom and dad used to really my mom used to carry the keyboard everywhere, and for all of the concerts that I used to do, I remember my parents always being there, uh, being cheering me all the time, and it's something that I really value, and I'm really happy that they brought me up to be a musician, and also they've instilled in me such values to like it's also very important to be a good human being. So those two have the parents and the gurus have literally made me who I am, and that I owe it all to them, honestly.
So when you spoke about this, I know you have said that you were always very interested in music. But a
Hmm.
lot of parents, I myself am a parent, and a lot of us sometimes we reach the stage where we don't know whether to push the child a little more or to not, especially when it comes to Indian classical music. Do you have anything to
Yeah.
say to parents like us?
It's so it is very important that the child enjoys what he is doing, because not everybody is built for a certain thing, because some children are extremely good at sports, some children are extremely good at uh, you know uh, some children are born to be doctors, some are born to be musicians. So it's extremely important for people to recognize what the child enjoys doing, because you cannot really push a sportsman to be a musician honestly. So if parents recognize that a child has a certain spark in them that will make them good at something, I think they should encourage them in that field, and it's very important for the parents to recognize what the child's interests are. Then it all starts there.
So I'm taking off from something you said initially. Um, the fact that you often advise new age companies, tech companies, and you
Hmm.
on how to integrate Indian music into tech, and also you said that your entire endeavor is to make Indian music seem cooler. I actually wanted to speak about that, but I want you to speak
Hmm.
a little more about that because kids often, I mean, a lot of kids are not able to, say that they learn our classical music as openly or proudly as
Hmm.
the fact that they learn a Western, piece of music.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that all over, and it's a reality because the cultural milieu is different than what it was about 15, 20 years back, right?
Hmm.
So it's a
Hmm.
reality. So what do you, I mean, and I know, and once you grow up, you know that it's so cool. So what
Yeah.
do you have to say to these youngsters that this is so cool, and what are the similarities that you find, and what helps you engage with other forms of music with your training?
It's see, at the end of the day, it's all about what music also kids listen to, because if you're grown up, if you grow up listening to classical music, that is the only thing in your mind that is cool, and it all boils down to how much what is the because for example, if there's a kid who was listening to classical music only, and by the age of 7, that kid will know only classical music, and that would be the aesthetic the kid grows up with. For example, and on the other side, if a kid is forced to learn classical music but really likes pop music, it is just like a clash of interest. So it's important for the parents to actually make kids listen to good music in the first place, and that's how the kids develop a liking for something. And in my whenever the same goes even 15 years ago, nothing was different. For example, everyone in my class was learning either keyboard or drums or guitar. It wasn't really cool for kids to learn classical music, but I see a lot of that changing because today we have so many good musicians out there who are really fine classical musicians who inspire kids to learn. And there for and there are so many talented kids who have a level of maturity with classical music that was unheard of 15 years ago, honestly. Because if you see kids, a lot of kids in the US, when I visited, they have access to technology to learn classical music easier, because now if we have Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp, etc., they have access to really good gurus who can just teach remotely. And I think that's absolutely beautiful, that people have access to learn classical music these days. And I don't see that as a problem. If a kid has access to good music, and if a kid has access to a good teacher, and if the parents are interested in classical music, that problem is solved.
Okay, that's great advice. So I'm going to wrap up with asking you last two questions, not one.
Sure.
One is uh, what advice or what do you have to say to young kids today? What are the one or two things that they should do if they were interested and they had a good teacher? What else should they do?
One one advice I would give is, you never really can stop learning anything, because there is always something new to discover. So it's very important to keep exploring and the possibilities, because one fine day you might pick up something and make it your own instrument. and uh, and also it is very important to keep practicing, because it's important to stay in touch with your foundations and roots. So keep exploring, keep practicing, and keep being passionate about the art so that you can take it further.
That's lovely. And lastly, do you have your iPad around and can you play us something?
Unfortunately, I don't. I'm at a friend's place, and I like that.
That's not a
You can
problem.
check
I'm
out some videos.
actually going to ask viewers to go to your YouTube or search on YouTube or
Sure.
FB.
Hmm.
Then that's it. All the best for your
Thank you
future.
so much, Lalita
And
ma'am.
we are great fans of your music, Mahesh. All the very
Thank you so
best.
much.
Our prayers and best wishes for a great future ahead as a musician.
And I would like to wish you all the best as well, because it's very important what you're doing, promoting young kids, and making sure that the art stays alive, and that's very important to me. It's something I'm very passionate about. So all the best to you as well. I hope to see lots of videos of kids playing classical music, and I hope to get inspired by them as well.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.